On this episode of China Uncensored, it seems the Chinese military is building missile silos in the South China Sea for peaceful purposes. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. The Chinese regime is just putting the finishing touches on some of its artificial islands in the South China Sea in an attempt to break the Guinness World Record for the largest ever live-action game of Minecraft. Watch out for the creepers. Maybe that's why they're allegedly also building missile silos on those islands.
Two U.S. officials exclusively tell Reuters Beijing is almost finished building nearly 24 structures on their artificial islands, and they look built to house weapons, likely long-range surface-to-air missiles.
Yes, it appears China is building real missile silos on fake islands in the disputed territorial waters in the South China Sea. But how do we know these are missile silos? Well, according to Reuters sources, they have retractable roofs and they resemble others that house SAM batteries. Well, hey, come on, that's not exactly a smoking missile. I mean, the retractable roofs could just be for, I don't know, elaborate vampire killing devices. Or indoor-outdoor swimming pools. Or very small football stadiums. What was China's response? Well, they admit it, but with Chinese characteristics.
I want to repeat here that China carrying out normal construction activities on its own territory, including deploying necessary and appropriate territorial defense facilities, is a normal right under international law for sovereign nations.
So yeah, China is arming the islands they built, demonstrating once again China highly values peace and stability in the South China Sea. Now this is causing huge waves internationally, even more so than when they finished building that lighthouse. Hey, that was kind of scary. Fortunately, a U.S. intelligence official told Reuters that these silos aren't actually a significant military threat. They're highly visible and vulnerable, just like me. But why are they building these silos? Well, according to the anonymous officials,
they say instead it appears to be a political test of the waters to see how far Trump will go.
That's it. China began planning and building these missile silos to test Donald Trump a year ago, before he'd even won the presidential primary, proving that the Chinese military has already invented time travel. Or was that a Netflix show? But there could be another reason. By building these missile silos, the Chinese regime can establish an aircraft defense identification zone. Basically, they could claim rights to control all aircraft movement within a certain area of the South China Sea. And that could hinder the normal movement of aircraft from a number of countries. Will the Trump administration push back now that this has landed in its lap? Well, over the past several years, the U.S. government hasn't been very effective at actually stopping the Chinese regime from militarizing those disputed islands. Sure, the U.S. Navy has sent in ships to conduct freedom of navigation operations, but those didn't stop the construction. As Rex Tillerson put it during his Senate confirmation hearing,
China's activity in this area is extremely worrisome, and I think, again, a failure of a response has allowed them just to keep pushing the envelope on this.
Perhaps the Trump administration wants to push back, but how could they do it effectively without starting a war? Perhaps they'll attempt to use what General Douglas MacArthur called America's unsinkable aircraft carrier. No, not the floating plastic thing from my favorite childhood board game. I'm talking about Taiwan. In December, when Donald Trump took a phone call from Taiwan's president, he proved he was open to using Taiwan as a negotiating tool with the Chinese Communist Party. Trump could use weapons deals and diplomatic relations with Taiwan as leverage to pressure the CCP to chill out on its militarization of those piles of sand. But hopefully, whatever happens, it can be executed in a skillful way, because World War III doesn't sound fun, especially when China is developing giant spider tanks. And of course, missile silos in the middle of the ocean. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And to commemorate the completion of the missile silos, I'm adding yet another new level of support to our Patreon page. Help us raise the funds to build our own bomb shelter. And one lucky patron will get to spend the apocalypse with me and Shelley. Yep, what's that, Matt? Oh, sorry, there's no more room. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.